Yo, what it do, y'all? It's your man Mike Ty, the Gaming Savant, with my homeboy Dom, and we are here giving y'all our top 10 games of 2022. Another year, another gaming year, which is better, but we all know that there's a lot of stuff coming in 2023. How did you feel about the games that came out this year, Dom?
Pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, compared to like the 2021 list, I would say that this one was a little bit better when it comes, like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X games, because I think that was like the main thing that was really missing, from the year before. But like you said, we starting to get, we started to see more of them come out, but I think this year, that's when we really gonna like kind of start to see them, use the consoles a little bit more, especially with them starting to complain about having to, make games for the Series S and stuff like that. So fingers crossed that stuff don't get delayed, because we know how that is. But yeah, last year was pretty good. I mean, as they'll find out when they hear about your list.
Yeah, I would call myself a game hopper this year, because there's a lot of games that I started, didn't finish, tried, loved for like 2 weeks and never went back to. So definitely something I'm going to be working on this year to try to be more efficient with games, concise, have more than like 5 games that I beat in a year, which I think that's what I had this year. And I think 3 of those were games from 2021 that I didn't finish in January. So, but we still played, so that's how we go with that. We'll start with honorable mentions. I'll let you go first since my list is a bit long in the tooth.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. So first off will be Sifu. You know what I'm saying? I think that game had like a lot of people in the chokehold when it first came out. I mean, just the concept of it alone, the fact that you get older every time you die, like you get stronger and you get more knowledge, but it's gonna take way less hits to kill you. So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't beat it. I think I probably got like to the spot after the club, and then after that, I just kept getting whooped after that. Eventually they added like a difficulty mode, but I ain't want to do all that because that kind of defeats the purpose of Sifu. But yeah, Sifu was an honorable mention. WWE 2K22, I gotta give them a shout out because considering the cluster that was 2K20. They did a real good job of like, coming back and, bringing that fun back. It kind of made me feel like playing like 2K19, which was like the last best one. So the future is looking bright for the franchise of WWE 2K. I ain't gonna talk about the actual WWE, consider what's going on right now, but the video game wise, it looked like it's in good hands moving forward. The Callisto Protocol. The only reason why it's an honorable mention because now me and you talked about this game before it even came out, and you knew I was hella excited for it, mostly because like the combat of it, the fact that it's more melee based, so you do some weave and then counter. It was cheeks. The combat was cheeks. It was buggy. Like I get the fact that the dude that worked on Dead Space, this was like basically his Dead Space, but try harder next time. The actual Dead Space remake comes out at the end of January, so yeah, we good for that. Last but not least is High on Life, and the only reason why, look, that game is hilarious. But if we being honest, shooting wise, it's really just like a basic shooter. It's really mostly for the comedy, and if you're not a fan of like Rick and Morty, of like their comedy style, it can definitely turn you out. Me, I loved it, but also for the people that's complaining though, they literally got options to where you can, turn the dialogue down for like the gun and just like the NPCs and stuff. But yeah, the game was hilarious. I mean, playing High on Life while you high on life is like the definition
it's
of
like a double entendre.
Exactly. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Oh, and PGA Tour 2K23 with your boy Tiger Woods on the front, because I used to love playing all Tiger Woods games on PS2. The only thing that I hate is the fact that you can't like get like the one-arm swing no more. You can't have your own swing really, so they kind of like, it is what it is. But it is fun kind of, winding down, just playing a nice round of golf. And the fact that they actually got like legit golfers on there, because Ooh, Lord, that EA Rory McIlroy, we ain't gonna talk about that. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions. The
right.
floor is yours, sir.
I appreciate it. So I counted. So I'll say when I was making my top 10 list, I had a lot of games that I played and dabbled in this year and ones that I want to put on the list. So after I made my top 10, I had about 25, 27 honorable mentions that could have made it. And I chopped it down to 15. And even then there were still some, like Sifu was one that I was going to put on here, but I was like, I don't feel like I gelled with it enough to even want to mention it. So I'm glad that you listed it on there. So I'll try to speed through these. Now this first one, controversial, if you want to say, some people's favorite game of the year or the generation, Elden Ring. It's in my honorable mentions for the simple fact that I'm not a huge Dark Souls fan, Soulsborne fan. I've played the games, they're just not my cup of tea. But everybody and they darn mama was talking about Elden Ring when it came out. So I was like, you know what? Let me play it and see. And I will say, as somebody who doesn't normally play these type of games, I understand it. I get it. Like, I fully get it why people love it. I think I beat whatever the first boss is. Starts with the M. I forget it. But I finally beat him. Somehow I made my way to Caled, which is horrible. And that was about it. I did enjoy it though. I played it for maybe about a month straight. I had 4 different builds. So I had 4 different save files with different builds, trying to figure out which one I actually wanted to invest time in. But after a while, I was just like, and once I saw basically how over leveled you have to be to technically get to the end of the game, and just recently found out there's like 72 unique bosses in the game or something like that. And once I saw the final boss and then Millennia, and I was like, all right, I'm not cutting that cloth. I've seen enough. If I want to watch more, I'll watch YouTube videos. But from what I played, I did enjoy. Next one is Triangle Strategy. This came out earlier in the year. This is another game that I played for a bit and then kind of fell off of it. I found out that my new, I guess, genre of games that I like is like strategy type RPGs. This one had a little bit too much story and dialogue in it for me, which was cool because it is a very good game. You do have choices that you got to make. And the combat's really excellent. Trying to kind of plan like 2 or 3 turns ahead of how one attack can affect something and then how you want to react to it and things like that. But overall, it's a great game. I want to say it's made by the same people that made the Octopath games, I believe. Okay. It may be somebody different, but it definitely looks like they call it HD 2.5 sprites and things like that. Next game is it Live Alive or Live Alive? Live Alive?
I think it's Live. Well, I say Live Alive.
Live Alive. Yeah, that one was a remake from, I want to say this was from the early 90s. This was an amazing game. It's basically broken up into like 7 or 8 different stories where you play as people in different parts of time. And I actually found out, because I didn't beat this game, but I actually did find out that once you beat all of them, there is like a final chapter that kind of merges it all together, which makes sense. But this was another great game. They had different things, like I think where you play as a cowboy, you play as a ninja, I think you play as a boxer. So there's like a boxer turn-based fighting game style. You play as a sentient robot on a spaceship. So it's a very fun game. It's on the Switch. If you like those old school 16-bit era RPGs, definitely try that. Next one is Marvel Snap. As you all know, I dabble in card games from time to time, and again, this was another one that when it came out had me in a chokehold for like the first couple of weeks. But it's a very fun game. Basically, you have three towers, and you gotta try to get the most points at each tower. So you have cards that affect it, but then each tower also has its own thing where it's like, hey, if you don't play here by turn 6, then all the other cards on the other side get destroyed, and different things like that. And the thing that I love about this game, the matches are super quick. Like, it's only 6 turns in the entire match. So you have 6 turns to basically kind of outmaneuver your opponent. So you can get like games in like 3, 4, 5 minutes tops. So you can, if you have some time to spend, you can definitely sit down and play a lot. So enjoyed that. Next one is Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, the sequel to Mario Battle Kingdom, whatever the first one was called. This one is just more refined of that. You can freely move around now. You have a few more characters to use. Definitely not a pairing that I thought would have ever worked in a million years, but seeing this makes me actually want to see other Nintendo properties handled by different studios. Like, imagine if somebody, I don't know, let's say made a Pokemon game that wasn't made by Game Freak, which we'll definitely be talking about later in this list. Or a Zelda game. Well, they had the Crypt Dancer game, but you know, things like that. But it's a fun game. Next one, TMNT Shredder's Revenge. Just old school beat 'em up at its finest, brought into the 21st century. Definitely a fun game. I played it with some friends and my nephews, and we had a very good time playing it. If you know about this game genre, then I don't need to say much. It's definitely a must-play game. Next one is Marvel Midnight Suns. If this game did not come out in December, it definitely would have been in my top 10. It combines things that I love, which is a RPG story, card-based battle system, and Marvel characters. And I didn't even know that Midnight Suns was a comic book run that it was based off of. I thought it was like a totally original, but it wasn't as bad as some people were saying. Some people were saying that the story can be a bit campy, and there's worse stories out there that came out this year than in Marvel Midnight Sun. So for the most part, it can be a bit campy. I will say I do not like Iron Man's voice actor in this game. He sounds holistically whiny for some reason, but other than that,
I wiped his Blade though.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the main reason. That's why I kept going through, so I can hang out with Blade. But yeah, Marvel Midnight Sun, definitely a game you should try out. Next one is another game that came out a little late in the year, Chained Echoes. So this is on Game Pass. Apparently this was made by one man, and he had some people help support with like music and some other things, but it's mostly made by one person. I think it took him like 7 years. This one I also am still playing through, and it probably would have made my top 10 if it would have came out earlier in the year. But excuse me, it's another 16-bit old school RPG, but it has a very interesting battle mechanic where they have an overdrive meter. So it's basically a meter. You have a yellow part, a green part, and a red part. So your goal is to get it in the green part, so you can get extra attack, you know, extra boost damage, things like that. Right. Take less damage. But you also don't want it to go into red, where you overheat and then you take more damage and do less damage. But the thing about it, each of your 4 party members has different things. So let's say you do like healing attack and it boosts your meter up. They have a symbol next to the meter that can bring it down. So let's say next turn you have a yellow symbol, like say a buff that you can use. You can bring that back down, and then the next turn you can stay in the green without trying to overheat. And it's a nice balancing act. And at first I thought it was gonna be like, you know, it's cool, you know. It may be like, oh, once you start unlocking stuff and getting moves and trying to balance it, and then you like one hit away from dying, but also the enemy is also one hit from dying, but you don't know if you do this extra attack, if it's gonna put you in overheat, if it's gonna kill him or not. It's a beautiful thing. If you have Game Pass, definitely download it and try it.
I need to go ahead and check that out.
Oh, also, all my Xenosaga fans, you can fight in flying robots too. So there's like a Gundam aspect to it. Next one is another recent one that just came out, Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Again, I just started playing this right before New Year's, so if I would have bought this earlier, you know, when it came out, it definitely would have made my top 10. It's honestly, and I just know you told me this before we started recording, this was a PSP game. They basically did that, but gave it the Final Fantasy VII remake over. So like all the menus and stuff, the feel of the game, combat for the most part is very similar to remake, but it still holds Crisis Core's original, I guess, ambiance, essence. There we go. Essence from the PSP days. I really hope they can patch this in, but please just let us Just let Zach be able to say something besides, oh yeah, after every fight. Because like, I get it. You just want to fight and you're excited, but man, just it's a lot. But definitely this is the one I've been playing the most recently, so you know, I've been playing through it every night. But definitely great game. If you're a Final Fantasy fan, no doubt, definitely want to play. Next one, which I actually forgot came out this year because another game in the same series came out, Pokemon Legends Arceus. I enjoyed this a lot when it came out in January. It definitely is the most different a Pokemon game has ever been, probably in the entire franchise. In this game, you're somehow magically warped back to the beginning of like time when people still lived in like huts and stuff. And essentially the game is about you creating the first Pokedex ever in creation. So you find this village, they find you, you join them. They're like, well, you can't stay here for free, so you got to work. So you got to go out. And apparently, even though some people have Pokemon, apparently nobody's good at catching Pokemon. So you just randomly throw a Pokeball and people are like, oh wow, you can actually catch Pokemon. Like, I don't know. It's weird, but basically Arceus is God. Yeah, so I learned that the Pokemon Arceus is God, so God is literally a Pokemon in this universe. But it kind of takes like the Pokemon Go or the Let's Go Pikachu aspect, where you can literally just go around and just throw Pokeballs at things. Like, you don't have to battle them, you can just throw it. And there's actually a really cool flow to that, to you going into a field, seeing like 4 or 5 different patches of Pokemon and just start throwing Pokeballs over here, dodging, running over there, jumping off a cliff, throwing it. Like, there's people who done trick shots in this game of catching Pokemon. But it was fun. Also, for the first time in battles, you can actually run around, so like you don't have to stay still. So you can literally run over to where the opposing Pokemon is, stand right behind it, and have your Pokemon attack it, and you can get hit in the process. Yeah, overall I enjoyed it. It was very basic as far as story goes, and I'm not gonna lie, after there's like 5 main bosses, which really just whittle down to you throwing stuff at it and then dodging its attack. After the 3rd one, I was kind of like, all right, I'm kind of tired of this, let me just go ahead and beat it. But overall, very fun game. I'm interested to see, after the next Pokemon game we talk about later, how they meld these two in the series going forward. Next one, Splatoon 3. I just bought this game, even though it came out in September. I usually don't put multiplayer games on my list, but I've been playing the bejesus out of this one.
You definitely have, though, like facts.
So it's for the, you know, I mean, if you've played Splatoon, you know what it is. It's a fun game. If you want to just play to just kind of paint around and have fun being a squidling, there's that. But there is a very more serious competitive side, which I've kind of found myself into. And it's just a fun game. I would say if you're not a fan of shooters, or if you want to play something that's not shooting a gun, like bullets and stuff, this is a very family-friendly, kid-friendly game that you can play and not really feel, you know, leery if you don't want to play a game with actual guns like Call of Duty or anything like that. Next one is Tunic. This is the Zelda-like Dark Souls game, which looks all cute and cuddly, but this game is hard as hell. This is definitely more along the lines of like an Elden Ring game, and it's the thing that I liked about it. This game promotes exploration. So when you start the game, they don't tell you anything, and what you do is you basically find pages of like this booklet. So you know how like back in the olden years you would get a game and it would have the booklet and it would like show you all the enemies and stuff. So you collect that, and that's basically how you learn about the story of the game. Wow. Even though like the language in the game is not English, so like you gotta kind of go off of pictures, but it's definitely a game where you find out everything. Like you gotta find out where the shield is, where the sword is, where the grappling hook is, different things. And it's definitely fun. Game looks amazing, music is great. If you like those old school style exploration games, and I will say this game is difficult. So don't go in thinking that it's just gonna be like Kirby or something. It's definitely you got to have some dodging and timing skills to beat some of the bosses in this game. But yeah, definitely fun. Also, this is on Game Pass as well, so you can try it on there. But I think they brought it over to like Switch and PS4, PS5 as well. Next one, another multiplayer game that had me in a chokehold when it came out was MultiVersus.
Yeah.
I guess you can say this is the heir apparent to Smash, even though Brawlhalla's been out forever. Yeah. But it's definitely a fun game. I would definitely say mechanically it's a little different than Smash, maybe a little more difficult than Smash, and not difficult as far as hard, but as far as like not being as responsive as you want it to, because even though it's supposed to have rollback netcode, some of the netcode is kind of meh. But I mean, who wouldn't want to play a game where they can play as LeBron James versus Superman versus Batman versus Rick and Morty? I think that's why most people
got two different fighting styles with and without the basketball though.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think that's maybe why people liked it so much. I know I just liked it because, you know, I'm a WB fan. I like most of their properties. So, you know, why not try it out? Free to play too. So, you know, you can definitely try it with no strings attached or anything. But MultiVersus was definitely good. Next one, which caught me by surprise, also some people's possibly game of the year, Vampire Survivor.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw gameplay of this game, I was like, "Why? What? Like, what is this Flash mobile game that is on my screen?" This is one of those games you got to play to understand it. Again, it's on Game Pass, and even if it's not, I think it's like maybe $3 or $5 if you buy it anywhere else. It's literally you just move and try not to die. Like, there's no attacks. You don't control everything. Everything is automated. But the fact that you can make different builds, and I've even seen some where like literally the screen is just flashing lights and colors and sounds and things like that, and it's hard to tell what's even going on. What I found out, the dude who made this game used to work at casinos. So he said he designed this game to be like a slot machine to appease to like the eyes and the sensories that you get from like winning a jackpot and a slot machine. So that makes a lot of sense, because you do get a lot of like audio and visual satisfaction from like leveling up, doing certain things and things like that. But it's definitely a fun game to play. This would be definitely a good like chill game to play before you go to bed, or if you're trying to wind down and you don't want to do too much. But it's definitely a very fun game that I highly recommend. Last one, finally, is gonna be Neon White. The best way I can describe this game is if speedrunning met anime. And I say that in the sense to where there is a story, but you're basically a demon that died, but they letting you into heaven, but you gotta like do some dirty work for like God or something like that. And there's a whole bunch of y'all, and the fantastic Steven Bloom, that voice of Cowboy Bebop. Steve Bloom. Yeah. He plays the main character in this game, so that's another reason to buy this game, because A1 voice acting. So you play as him, and apparently you lost your memory too. So there's like, you're neon white, and there's like a neon purple and a neon yellow, and apparently they know you, but you don't remember them, but you're just trying to like, I guess, gain your freedom back. So, but it's a pretty fun game. I bought it on PC, so I'm using mouse and keyboard, but you pretty much have these cards and they have two different actions. So you can use it to shoot an enemy, or you can use it as like a jump to get higher. So when you're running through the course trying to beat certain times to get medals, you can either got to choose like, all right, do I want to use this card to shoot this enemy, or do I want to save it for later when I need to jump over this big ledge and I need like an aerial jump, which I have to like use the card, but you can't use it anymore after that. So it teaches you all that, and then as you go through that, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not huge into speed running. I really don't care for speed running, but I was kind of hooked to this game to be like, all right, I know I can shave off 2 seconds here or like 0.5 seconds here and just find different avenues to get through the levels. So it's that level's gorgeous as well. I mean, it's on the Switch and PC as of now, so it is very basic level wise, but music's really good. And as I said, there is a story and there is voice acting. So definitely check it out if you haven't. And, finally, that is my honorable mentions for 2022.